Obviously, my name is Matt.
Alright, as you know, my name's Luke.
Yeah, I'm Daniel, and these guys call me Dan, so that's probably what you'll hear most.
I'm David, and I like playing games. I haven't liked the movie since 1999, so...
I'm probably the biggest gamer of the group.
I like games also, mostly RPG games.
Games for kids. I like films and TV, and I like Star Wars. Don't look at me like that.
Still date.
I love Star Wars.
I accused Luke Skywalker of being a murderer.
You've read the reviews. You like the website enough to listen to the podcast.
Or if for some reason you're listening to this because it's a crazy reason people like it.
Have you got any ideas for improvements?
No, absolutely not.
They won't.
No. And we don't want their feedback.
I know.
No.
This is not a two-way discussion.
Oh, no, yeah, I don't. We don't want to hear
This
from
is
you.
the mass media.
Yeah.
We talk, they listen.
If it'll keep you listening, then it's probably of value.
Okay, welcome to the first Multiple Nerdgasm podcast. We are your hosts. I'm David Rawl, and this is...
Matthew Ham.
Luke Alderson.
And Daniel Miller.
Right, and
Can I
we're...
say my name again? I think I sounded a bit gay.
Nah,
No?
that's it.
Just kidding, that was 11 years ago.
Do I sound any less gay now? I think I sound a bit less gay now.
Not at all.
No, definitely not.
More gay?
Exactly the same.
Or the same amount of gay?
The same gay. Yeah.
I think same.
Yeah.
But God, how young were we then? We were babies back then.
Yeah. Exactly
We
11.
thought we were old, though.
years
We were
younger.
30.
I know,
Yep.
we thought we knew everything. We then went from there to... Actually, you know what? There's one other clip I'd like to play, but maybe I'll sit on that one, actually.
Okay.
Oh, I've got something
But
to
yeah,
sit
we
on.
went from
Oh,
knowing
no, I'm sounding gay
everything
again.
to realise... we went from thinking we know everything to realise we know nothing.
No.
I realise how little I know every single day.
Well, we're not needed anymore anyway. This podcast writes itself. And when I say writes itself, what I mean is AI writes this podcast now.
Yes.
Because we've got a surprise, listeners. We've got another clip. And...
Why can't we jump on the AI train? Everyone else is.
Well, we have. All aboard.
Yeah.
Choo choo.
Yeah, let's have a listen.
Quiet on set.
Where am I?
Ah, you must be the new director. Welcome to the set of the Bon Masson Champagne commercial.
Wait a minute. I'm in the past. This is 1976.
Indeed it is, my friend. Now, if you don't mind, we have a commercial to shoot.
Places, please, people.
Oh my god, I'm directing Orson Welles.
Indeed you are, my young friend.
Places, people, places.
Now, let's get to work.
All right, people, where I go?
Okay, now Orson, I want you to look right at the camera and say, "We sell no wine before it's time."
We will sell no wine before it's time.
Okay, now with more emphasis on no wine.
We will sell no wine before it's time.
Yes, that's it!
Mr. Wells, I just want to say I'm not your biggest fan, but I have heard of you before.
How about we spice up this famous line by adding no wine before it's time unless you're a time traveller?
I'm not sure that's appropriate, my dear boy.
Come on, Orson. It's a comedy sketch. It'll be funny.
I'm afraid I can't do that.
Oh, I see. Well, I guess I'll just go back to my own time then. I should have just stuck to the script.
This is what we have to look forward to with AI writing our scripts going forward.
I have to say, so I asked ChatGPT, can you please write a sketch where Dan travels back in time and directs Orson Welles? And I wasn't expecting much. And I certainly wasn't expecting that legitimate joke that it wrote about unless you're a time, like no wine before it's time unless you're a time traveller. I don't know how it did that.
No, because listeners, for those who don't know, in the 70s, Orson Welles really did star in a series of commercials for Paul Masson wines, and their tagline really was, "We sell no wine before its time." So not only does the AI do its research, it also made a pun and put a twist in the script based on that pun.
And I'm not joking. I didn't ask it to do those things. I just I logged on and I said, first of all, I said, can you write? I said some stupid thing about the podcast that I was like, all right, that's fine. And then I said, can you write a sketch where Dan travels back in time and directs Orson Welles in a TV commercial? And that's what, and it literally wrote what you just heard.
Yeah, it filled in all the blanks. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah, amazing.
I mean, pretty good, but
pretty good.
Infinitely better than I was expecting.
Well, I mean, that certainly inspired me to go and check out the app. I'd ignored it until then. And I asked it to write a letter to you from Ron Gilbert saying that...
that's right.
He was using some of your old Monkey Island fan fiction to be the premise of the new game. And then I asked it to do a text conversation between Luke and Natalie Portman saying that she regretted not saying yes when he asked her out all those years ago. And one that I didn't tell you guys about, I also wrote one, asked it to write one, a conversation where Dave admits to me that he's been gay all this time.
Did you send that to him?
I did send it to him, yeah. But it's sheer fantasy because the Dan in that text message was very, very understanding and didn't make fun of him at all. Where in real life, I would just be pointing out every homophobic slur he's made in his entire life.
Oh, yeah.
Back to
and the irony of it all.
Correct, yeah.
But I just like, because it's come a long way. Remember you used to see scripts floating around like that AI wrote this and it just makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
It'd sort of start off well and then you just go completely off the rails. This had a start, a middle and an ending.
Yeah. And a joke. Like,
a joke.
And I Googled the no wine before it's time unless you're a time traveler in case that's something it cribbed from somewhere, or like is that something I'm just not some joke that exists already. I can't find anything like that.
No, I've not heard of that, and I am extremely up to date on the Orson Welles news.
Paul Masson.
Yeah, I tried to get some Paul Masson. I don't think it's available here
because I wrote it and I was reading through it. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is fine. Wait a minute, what the fuck? How did it do that? Like,
so I've found a practical use for it actually. So I'm trying to
really quickly. By the way, I got to say it just spat it out.
Yeah. Like it does it almost instantly, right?
Yeah. So interesting.
I guess what it doesn't need is time because it just processes.
Yeah. Right.
Like the fact that we would even think it would have to think about it over time and then write it is because our brains are limited in ways it is not.
Well, because I was thinking, like, how long would it take me to sit down and get those pieces and come up with that gag? No one before it's time, unless you're a time traveler, because Dan traveled back in time. And it's just so... Yeah. It's clever.
And when you came up with it, you'd be like, "Oh, that's a good one."
That's
writing that down.
Yeah. Impressive.
Yeah. I've started using... Well, yes. So I'm trying to write something in the moment, and I find it easy to come up with ideas, and then I find it easy to edit shitty writing into good writing.
Yep.
But that part of just writing the initial stuff down, just putting pen to paper, is the hardest part. So
I have that same thing at work. People will come up with, like, they'll ask me to, like, review minutes or review something, and I go, yep, this is, no, you need to get rid of that, change that to this. And I can tell people,
suddenly you're a genius.
You need to start with this. But for me to sit there and write,
they don't even know he can't read.
Put it off. I just...
right, let alone write. I completely agree. I'm the same. And ChatGPT fills in that gap for you because you just punch in a bunch of data that's just a mind vomit, and it goes, okay, well, let me write you a first draft. And then you go, okay, not bad. Yeah, I'll take it from here.
Interesting. Yep. All right.
It still hasn't been taught to be racist yet.
No, but they're working on it.
We'll get it there.
They're working on it.
I'll guarantee you there are just hundreds of people that's all they're trying to do is to get it to be racist.
So we have, I don't know that we said it yet, but obviously it's obvious from the episode title. This is our 500th episode. Can you fucking believe it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they said we wouldn't make it to 100. And by they, I mean people who have been on this podcast.
The very first person who spoke ever on this podcast, as evidence from the clip I played at the start.
Yeah.
And it still feels like we've done the last 400 faster than we did the first 100.
Well, because we were very casual about it in the beginning.
Yes. Well, remember the first? It was we have to all be together,
Right.
and that's how we had to do it. So we would record 4 episodes at a time because I was traveling up from.
Yeah,
And we were
but
so
not only that,
behind on the news.
not only that, we were all together more often back then. Whereas now, I mean, even when we were, those of us who were and weren't in Sydney for a while, there was a period where we're busy and stuff like that. And so this is a good excuse every week to hang out and chat.
Yes. Yeah.
So
It worked out quite well. Because if we weren't doing this, I don't think we'd be talking really much anymore.
I wouldn't talk to you fuckers.
No.
I only talk exclusively to people I'm on podcasts with. So.
That's right. That's right. I'm just waiting for Joe Rogan to call, and then I won't need you guys anymore. He'll be my new friend. Yeah.
And that 500, another 500 to come.
500, yeah. How long do you reckon it'll take us to? We've got 11 years. We'll still be around.
So it took 11 years to get. Right? So that you reckon another 11 years we'll get to 1,000?
No, I reckon we'll do it faster.
Yeah, I reckon 5. Well, hang on a minute. We can figure this out. 52
We
a year.
figure it out. So we're doing rough.
We do maybe
let's say
50.
we
I
do-
reckon we
do.
take a hiatus for Christmas.
Yeah.
So 50 a
So that's-
year. So what's
So it's 10 years.
10 years? Oh, okay. So that's not okay. So it's about right. Yeah, fine. Oh, good shit.
So yeah, we're taking a year off.
Now, back at that first episode, and I've not listened to that for a while, but I am going to assume we talked about Star Wars.
Yes.
I'm going to assume we all
In fact-
weighed in on.
There's something I'd like to show you.
Oh, sure.
Something contradictory. It contradicts something that we think we know about Daniel Miller.
What?
Ooh.
Is it that I didn't know what a boffin was?
Well, let's just have a listen to this clip.
I like films and TV, and I like Star Wars.
No, I don't.
Don't look at me like that. Dave, I love Star Wars.
I don't. I fucking hate Star Wars.
Well, Dan, 11 years ago, loved Star Wars.
Yeah. You know what? Dan, 11 years ago, was still trying to convince himself the prequels were okay and hadn't seen... Go on.
The 40 minutes that follow that clip were us shitting on the Blu-ray release that had just come out.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
That had just
shitting all
happened.
over it. Yeah.
Oh, man, the colours. Oh, God, the inconsistency of that blue lightsaber.
I remember buying. I went out and brought it. I watched the special features. Never watched the actual movies from the Blu-ray set.
Good, because the movies in that version were awful. Not
Yeah.
that there's any good way to watch the originals anymore, even the despecialized.
And I do find it ironic that you've heard the audio quality there. 4 guys on a podcast with that level of audio quality were critiquing the quality of a film that's a classic.
Hold on, that's what critique is. You don't have to be able to do better in order to critique something.
That's actually an interesting point that so I mean, this is a fair enough time to mention that I've been down a Star Wars rabbit hole this week.
Yeah,
I mentioned
yeah.
to you guys. I watched a
Sorry,
video
listeners.
that was.
Sorry, we're going to.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. Skip ahead.
Yeah.
There's chapter markers in this. I'll try not to go on for too long. We'll
No,
keep it,
please.
Keep it
I've
short. We've got a
stuff
lot
say
to
as
talk
well.
about.
Yeah.
But I watched a really interesting video that I sent you guys that was a rebuttal to that how Star Wars was saved in the edit. And
By Rocket Jump. Now, I used to watch a lot of Rocket Jump back in the day, and then they got a bit too big for their boots, and so I stopped watching.
this
this
pretty
guy
much
fucking
tore
hates
it to
them.
shreds.
Yeah.
And to be honest, like pretty convincing.
it's
He had a
compelling.
lot of evidence. He went back to the primary sources that they looked at and pointed out that they conveniently left out a lot of information. One particular piece of information is that, like, their video says their video is kind of saying the point of it all is that George Lucas is an idiot and Star Wars was successful despite him.
And because
kind
of
of
the work of a few other people.
His movie was saved by other people, and he was a dum-dum. And
I don't believe that.
no,
Well,
and this video points out
And if you want
that,
proof of that, this
It
is a
depends
good
which
video.
movies we're talking about.
Yeah.
well, this video
Well,
points
remember
out
that when there was just a movie called Star Wars?
yeah, well, because they imply in that Rocket Jump video that they don't mention that there was an editor before Marshall Lucas and the others. They just it's implied that George was trying to fumble through it and just made a mess of it. He hired someone to do it. He fired that person for doing his shit job, and then they came on and cleaned up the mess. But the way that they portrayed is that these people came on and he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
So it's just
And it
quite
is
different.
true. It is true that he had a screening with Spielberg and Brian De Palma and said, "What do you think?" And they were like, well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of placeholder special effects and, shots from other movies put in. Let's discuss that, and maybe we can find out what you're gonna do in those parts.
How are you gonna fix that?
Yeah, but the rocket jump video implied that they saw the first cut and said, well, this is terrible. But actually, this guy proves that they actually watched the fourth edit after Marshall Lucas and had already come in. They'd already overhauled it. They'd already removed Biggs. They'd already removed all of the other deleted stuff. They'd already reshot the Solo stuff.
Lighter.
Yeah.
Just so a lot of that stuff in there is factually, it seems based on the evidence provided, just not true. So I don't know, it's very interesting.
Well, they're coming. I think they were coming in it from an angle to make it look like that was their goal.
That's fine, except that they called it a video essay.
Yeah, it's become very trendy to say that George Lucas is an idiot who just got lucky, and there's a whole YouTube culture around that now. Like the Red Letter Media stuff does it. They kind of started it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And because there's another video I watched pointed out how like literally every video on the internet just steals stuff from the Red Letter Media one. They just repeat
But the thing about Red Letter is they love Star Wars.
Yes.
They hate that it was taken in the direction that we also criticize. But they actually have a lot of love for Star Wars, which is why they spent fucking hours discussing and deconstructing that. And people just go, see, they hate it, and they take it and run with it.
The reason why I don't think it's a case of George Lucas being lucky is I love his first three movies.
Yeah, and he was up for an Oscar before then too. So here's the thing that people don't really remember. If George Lucas never made Star Wars, he would still be famous as the guy who made American Graffiti. Because Star Wars popularity dwarfed that of American Graffiti in ways that you can't even describe. But what people don't realize is that was an incredibly popular movie, and that his name was well known for being the person behind that movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he actually, even with American Graffiti, someone else wrote the script and came back with it, and he went, no, this is terrible. And he hates writing screenplays, which he should stick with not writing screenplays. But he went back and rewrote that all and turned that into what it was. Like the original script was hot rods racing everywhere. It was more of a drag movie than that being a sort of a side component to it.
Oh, don't talk about drag in front of Matt. More on that in the after party. I'll also go out on a limb and I'll say that THX 1138 is one of my top 3 favourite science fiction films of all time.
So you go, look, he started with THX 1138, American Graffiti, then Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good track record.
Yeah.
What he went on to do later is, I think...
Yeah, but what you've got to remember is that also he was a producer in that time too, and he produced Indiana Jones, he produced Willow, he produced Poltergeist, he produced Goonies, he produced every movie you love.
Howard the Duck.
Howard the Duck. Maybe I can find love in the animal kingdom.
Well, I'll link to some of the videos that I liked. There's 4 that I've got in here that I'll link to. I thought they're pretty interesting. If you like Star Wars, check them out. If you don't like Star Wars, avoid them like the plague. They're hours long. It's just, One thing I'll say that they do a very good job. These guys all love George Lucas, and these guys often like the prequels too. And they point out that Red Letter Media and other critics criticize things they don't like about the prequels, but they don't explore or engage with why the things are that way. Mm-hmm. And they do that in these videos. And I mean, it's very convincing. It's very interesting. But at the end of the day, if I pause the video and think about it for a minute, we're still talking about the Phantom Menace. So
which is still
it
not
doesn't matter if George Lucas
Yeah.
loved Buster Keaton and those scenes of Jar Jar goofing around and shooting droids are copies, or not copies, but homages to the Buster Keaton.
It
it's still
make that
shit.
good. So
No, however,
the
what
problem is...
In that context, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Look, I think what really happened was, if we go back to original Star Wars, where he sat down with Spielberg and stuff and showed it, he was getting advice. Mm-hmm. When he sat down and showed off Phantom Menace, he was around people who were just going, George Lucas, you were the greatest person ever.
Also, they designed all the characters before he'd written the script. And then when he'd written the script, they filmed that first draft script. You know how many different people wrote on The Empire Strikes Back? Everyone's...
Even the original Star Wars script had no humans in it.
Yeah. I mean, the first draft was set in the year 3000 and it had dragons in it. Then it was all robots and aliens.
And Mace Windu was riding a dragon in it.
he went
Yeah.
from getting
He was already in
feedback
it.
and getting advice from people to being surrounded by people who just were agreeing with whatever direction he was wanting to go. And I think
Yeah.
that's the problem.
I think he bought into his own. Because, like I say, they've got lots of clips in this. Him talking about, all the layers and metaphors, and it's Anakin's descent into hell, and this represents that, and this is an homage to that. And it's like, yeah, but the movie sucks, George.
That's film school talk, like that's a film scholar talking about film history and film theory, and that's great, and that's actually what he's the best at.
It's kind of sad though, in a way.
But he did
put
that in the
so
first
much
movie
thought
too,
into it, and that's the result.
The Jedi are samurai, you know what I mean? Like, they are, and they've even dressed like samurai. Like, he didn't hide any. He Quentin Tarantino'd that first movie, you know what I mean? In a really great way. He stole from the best, and he created a really great movie. All of the dogfight scenes between the TIE fighters and the X-Wings were stolen from his favorite World War II movies, and everything shot in the desert was stolen from Lawrence of Arabia. Like he is great, and everything with the droids is stolen from Hidden Fortress by Akira Kurosawa, and that's why it's great. He stole from the absolute best. Yeah, for sure.
Shots. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another.
Yeah.
Actually,
but Kurosawa used to just copy John Ford and Sergio Leone. So
well, they all did. That's it.
Yeah.
There's two other things I wanted to mention just quickly, and then we can move on if you want to. So one was that there was a comparison that I thought was really interesting. I didn't know this. It was a side-by-side shot comparison of the pod race with a film from the 60s called Grand Prix. And then at first I was watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, the shots are exactly the same. And then you find out George Lucas was a cameraman on the film Grand Prix in the 60s. And he just made the pod race the same thing he shot back in the 60s. That's interesting.
That is interesting. And he is a car enthusiast. Like, he's a racing enthusiast.
Like, it's quite interesting.
Like, he copied the shots.
I would have liked to have not
no,
seen
his shots,
half an hour. But it's great that it was an homage and all this, and it's shot for shot, but I would have quite happily skipped 30 minutes of a pod race.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, but he thought that film was exciting in the 60s, so I bet he was thinking...
Go to somebody else.
Go
to another shop that had that same part and that would just sell it to you. Like, why are back for more money? Like, why did you have to dick about with this boy for so long?
And one other thing I thought was interesting, and it ties into what... George Lucas doesn't like Empire Strikes Back?
Yes.
We've talked about this before.
And he hates that we like it.
And there's a point that in this where because everyone talks about how the shots are kind of boring in the prequels. They're kind of boring in Star Wars as well, because he has a very particular, intentional, they have clips of him talking about this. He thinks the camera should be out of the way, put the actors in the frame, and just film them doing stuff.
Like a documentary. Like, if you were just filming people doing stuff.
The camera shouldn't be drawing attention to itself. It should just be there filming stuff. And that's how Star Wars is. And Return of the Jedi is more like that. Empire Strikes Back has a lot of artsy shots that he probably fucking hates. Like one in particular, there's one where when the doors are closing on Hoth and there's like a slow zoom in to Princess Leia's face. He specifically said in the past he fucking hates that shit.
Really?
Yeah.
But that's how we get inside their feelings, as the camera speaks to us in the cinematic language.
Garrett, if he was still directing, making movies as he was, he'd be all into this deep fake stuff now. Because he doesn't want actors.
He likes
he wants people to read his lines.
He's like, now I can make Natalie Portman do whatever I want.
Yeah. Luke's face lit up when you said that, Matt.
Oh, no, I find the deep fake stuff terrible.
No,
It's
I don't.
terrifying.
I mean
It's so
the phrase,
creepy.
you can make Natalie Portman do whatever you want.
Did you see that Twitch streamer that got
I want her
caught
to be
out?
part of it.
Did you see that, Luke?
No.
You follow
Which
Twitch.
one?
I don't know his name.
That Twitch guy who was caught.
He was streaming and he
Chrome
clicked his...
tab open.
Yeah, he had a Chrome
to
tab
show
open.
that
It was a deep fake.
Gone to a paid site of one of the deep fakes to look up other streamers.
His friends.
Yeah.
He was looking at deep fake porn of his friends who are other streamers, girls. And he
Wait,
got caught out.
you guys don't look
Caught-
at deep fake porn of each other?
He got caught on a stream and then had to sit there and be confronted. And his wife confronted him on stream. There's all there's this. It's God. And then
No, I
It's just
really
so
do not like
creepy.
this deep fake stuff. It's terrible, I think.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's terrible if it's porn and if it's against somebody's will. If it's George Lucas just making a movie and putting John Wayne in it, I've got no problem with it.
No, what I'm saying is, I don't think no matter if it's porn, it's just if it's against someo's will. Forget about that. Like, It's you're taking someone's likeness and making them do something. And at the end of the day, they were making them do that to make money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this kind of thing was flagged in the 80s when James Cameron... Back to the Future's a good one, too.
I was going to say, Crispin Glover.
They modelled the actor on... They actually put a fake nose on a new actor to make him look like Crispin Glover. He sued and he won. And then Alien 3... Yeah, James Cameron, Alien 3.
That's right.
It wasn't
Bill
James
Hicks.
Cameron. It was...
Bill Hicks, Michael Biehn.
Yeah, Michael Biehn. And who's the director? David Fincher. Used a photo... I would like to see James Cameron direct Bill Hicks in an Alien movie. Yeah. Why don't we all just take fucking drugs? There was a photo of
Michael Biehn.
And it was a photo from him being on set.
Hicks. It's Hicks.
Hicks. That's why you're thinking of Bill Hicks, yeah.
I got
photo
Bill
of
Paxton,
Hicks.
Bill Hicks, and Michael Biehn all mixed up.
Yeah, that's right. So there was a photo of Hicks and the words deceased next to him, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Bill Paxton went, "That's my fucking photo. You didn't ask me."
And
to
then
use
Michael
that
Biehn
photo.
went, "No,
I
it's
didn't
not.
get
It's
any."
my photo."
Oh, yeah. And then they duked it out. No, yes. Michael Biehn, sorry. Wait,
Obviously,
that's
Michael
my
Biehn
photo.
won because
Yeah.
Bill Paxton's no longer with us. So
Oh, are you saying Michael Bean beat
I'm not
Bill
saying
Paxton
anything,
to
Dan.
death?
I'm just asking questions.
The listeners can figure it out for themselves.
Do your own research.
Throwbacks. Before we get off, hold on. Before we get off the topic of deep fakes and special effects,
There's a segue.
did
I'm
you
wondering if you're
guys
going to make
know
it.
that people aren't kissing each other in movies anymore? They're using CGI to kiss?
Really?
I briefly saw something about this.
Way more than you think.
This
right?
is Frank Langella's fault. They were like, you know what? Maybe we don't need old men.
I've
here
got a
anymore.
list here of movies where the kisses aren't real, right?
Oh, don't ruin a nice kiss for me, Dan.
If I've had $1 for every time you've said that to me.
Get out of my bedroom.
So there's a film out at the moment, right, called You People, right?
What do you mean, you people?
Well, no, I think that's what it's about, right?
Oh, okay.
It's-
All right.
Well, I mean, look, I don't know, but it does have some African Americans in it, and I think that's probably the context of it. But there's a moment where, and I want to get this right, there's a moment where Jonah Hill and somebody London,
Amiria
London, kiss.
Right.
But they didn't want to kiss. So,
No, that's her character name.
okay. Regardless, they didn't want to kiss.
Do you want to kiss?
Special
'Cause-
effects kiss.
She repulses him.
I mean, sure. I've got some other reasons why other films in the past have not. So,
I was reading down, and one of them I think is quite a good one.
are you talking about Harry Potter?
The Harry Potter one I think is a good reason to...
Yeah. So when they filmed, no, I haven't seen this Harry Potter movie because I
I
dropped
tuned
out
out
of
about
Harry.
Goblet of Fire.
Yeah, I dropped out of Harry Potter. That one that
I've seen
started
them all.
Intense.
Which one's got a kiss? Oh, Cho and Harry.
Sure.
No, it's Harry and Ginny.
Oh,
Fuck
sure.
is Ginny.
Okay. Ginny
Anyway,
Weasley.
when they filmed that, he had already turned 18 and she hadn't.
Oh, okay.
And so they were like, you can't. And the actors were like, nah, let us do it. And they're like, you can't. And they're like, we're doing it
Okay.
right now, right in front of you. And they're like, we can't film it.
See, yeah, okay. I mean, I get it,
So-
but then I'm like, using CGI allowed the filmmakers to still include a kiss between the characters, but in an age-appropriate way. Except sorry,
that they
so if-
weren't.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I know this is just the article's wording, but that makes it sound even creepier.
Yeah.
We
No,
made,
I think they were just
we made
covering
some
bases.
kids kiss, but it's okay because we did it in a computer.
Yeah. Look, here's a video I've made of me kissing a very young kid. It's fine because I did it using
Leonardo
computers.
DiCaprio's not allowed to kiss his girlfriend, so he does it on the computer.
Yeah, that's right. Did you see that tweet this week where somebody tweeted, I forget who it was, but they tweeted, maybe women just get bored of Leonardo once they turn about 25.
Yeah, it could be.
But there are other reasons, and as far as I know, that's the only reason. That's the only film where we don't want them to come across as pedophiles has
I
factored
know
in.
that there was one movie, I can't remember what it is, but they had to do it because they'd already sort of finished filming and they had to do the kiss at separate times. I forget what movie it was.
Yeah, there's a bit of that. There's also been COVID fears. People just don't want to kiss anyone during COVID. And also, apparently, Kristen Stewart, your favourite actress, Luke, that we haven't spoken about for a while, when Robert Pattinson was asked to kiss her, he said, "I'd rather go across the hall." And
Because she repulses him.
yeah, so she does repulse him, but I'm sure he repulses her because she's a lesbian, as far as I know, right? So
Did she break up someone's marriage by sleeping with someone's husband?
I'm not saying she's not a bitch as well, but
the director of Snow White,
William Eubank, was it? Or was no? It was Rupert Sanders. It was one of those.
Sure.
It's one of those guys. It's one of those two people.
It could be both.
Google them both.
Person.
Maybe she's
just a
both
terrible,
those dudes.
terrible person.
It was the guy who directed the live-action ODST trailer.
Oh, that guy.
We talked about back in the day.
That's right. Yeah.
Ended his
Still a
career
great
pretty
trailer.
much too. And he was married to Atticus Ross's sister. That's who he cheated on.
Jesus Christ. That's like, all right.
Yeah.
It's like George Lucas
How do
wrote
you
that
go from
situation.
that to that?
I know, right? But anyway, to finish the story, they kissed on film normally, and then in the dailies,
like
they were
humans
watching like human beings, and or like a 400-year-old would kiss an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
If we're
But then
going
they were like,
editorial.
that's not appropriate. We better CGI that up.
Yeah, no. So they
He's
really
too old.
kissed, but then when they watched it back, the producers said to each other, they do not like each other. They are not
Like each
attracted
other.
to one another. Like,
Right.
So is there something we can do with special effects to make them more kissy?
To make them in love.
Yeah, to make it look like they're really getting into it.
The other one they mentioned
Apparently
here that surprises me is Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and the way they word it is great. In one of the scenes, a kiss between Elizabeth Swann and Will Turner was enhanced with CGI.
Like they
that
put
mean-
tongues in or something.
Or like Davy Jones is in the background with his little wiggly beard. What does that mean?
They've got the 3 examples, and they give reasons for the first 2. But for the Pirates of the Caribbean, it's just
we
enhanced.
it.
no reason behind it.
Zoom and enhance. Like,
Zoom
what
in
did they
and enhance.
change? I mean, not that it matters. That movie's...
I haven't seen that one.
it's got the best soundtrack, but it's the worst one, like, movie overall.
I dropped out about after the first movie.
I watched the one with the crabs. Which one's that?
The Crabs.
Crabs move a boat, right?
Oh, that's this
Something?
one. Yeah, that's
That's
World's
this
End.
one. Yeah. That was fucking garbage.
Yeah.
Aren't they making another one?
They've made 2 more. There's 5, I think, in total.
Yeah, but after the trial, weren't they throwing money at him to make another one?
Oh, I don't know.
Is there any... I mean, obviously there's some without Johnny Depp, or there isn't?
No, I don't think there is.
No,
I think
they're
they've all
all
got
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's
All the
So
other
there
actors
are there
have
some
moved
without...
away.
Okay, so there's
There's
some
one
without
with
Keira
Ian
Knightley.
McShane, and then there's one with the guy
Oh,
who
hello.
played Julius Caesar in Rome.
Oh, shit. Okay.
He's the villain.
yeah, an Irish
Yeah,
name
the
I
guy
can
from
pronounce.
The Terror.
Yeah, I love him. He's also
Yeah.
in Excalibur.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't think they'd even attempt to make a Pirates without Depp.
Oh, they
JD.
will. They'll just wait for it to blow over.
Mate, I'd watch a buddy comedy between Ian McShane and that guy who played Caesar in Rome for sure.
Different film. They're not the
Pirate
same one.
buddy yeah, bring him back.
Yeah,
Isn't
yeah,
Chow
good
Yun
point.
Fat
I
in
know
one? Put him in one.
They brought fucking what's his name, Barbosa back. So why not bring others back? Barbosa was dead. They brought him back.
don't know who that
what's
is.
his name? The Aussie guy. The guy from The King's Speech. What's his name?
Oh,
That actor.
yeah, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey Rush.
You're not allowed to put him in stuff anymore, Matt. Remember?
Well, I didn't do it. They
He
did.
got his dick out, Matt. You can't get your dick out.
I get my dick out all the time.
Yeah, but did you get your dick out in front of that girl from Orange Is the New Black? No, he did.
No, I did
and so
not.
he's not allowed to be in movies anymore.
I was going to say which girl, but I haven't seen it, so it's not going to help. Look, we've got some other deep fake news that I've
Dick
just...
fake news or fake dick news?
Deep fake news. No, it's Harrison Ford
deep
fake
fake.
news.
Oh,
Yeah.
sure. I thought you said
Apparently,
dick fake.
because the way he's describing the way they de-aged him, it's just deep fakes. They took footage
Right.
from the cutting room floor from the old indie movies
Okay.
and used it to deep fake him from now back to what he looked like back then.
into
Which is
porn.
fine. And the reason why this deep fake is different is because he knows
consented.
about it, he's agreed to it, and he's getting paid for it.
Yeah. Those three
He said,
things.
"You can do whatever you want."
At least two
don't
of those
wanna
things
know,
are
and I don't
absolutely
care.
Yes.
Do what you want.
I don't give a shit.
Where is my wife?
Yeah, so he reckons this is really good. He said he watched it and he was like, "Oh, it just looks like they found some old footage." So
Okay.
then again, they are
Well,
paying
who
him
else-
quite a lot of money to say that. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Well, yeah.
We'll see.
But can I just say, let's just make a whole bunch of young Harrison Ford movies now. What are we doing? Why are we wasting
They've
time
made
making
them.
any other movies?
yeah, that's like they're winking behind him, going, "Don't worry, guys, Indiana
Yeah.
Jones forever."
Yeah.
Remember when we said no
got
one
him
else
to
apart from
sign
Harrison-
something. Yeah.
Remember when we said no one else but him will pay Harrison Ford? We're making a lot more movies even after he's dead.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, James L. Jones took a big paycheck and let them sample his voice so that
That's
they can
right.
make him say anything in a Darth Vader voice for the rest of eternity. So maybe Harrison Ford's going to agree to that too. I hope he does.
But then one thing is, unless they do the whole thing sort of CGI, it sort of sucks for the person who actually play the character. That they
Get Chris Pratt.
Some people are just a stunt man. They're happy to just stand in.
It's Chris Pratt. He could just do the voice.
Did you guys see that video where Legal Eagle tallied up all of the crimes that Indiana Jones committed during Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I haven't seen that one.
no.
So, yeah, it's very funny. So he went through and he actually, like, there's a lot of wrongful death. There's one or two straight up murders, but then there's a lot of, like, when he just drives the truck through this hastily made construction site and people just fall off the building. He's like, well, they're all dead. And so that's manslaughter. And then, of course, as we've discussed many times, he also adds the statutory rape charge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is canon.
Yes, it is. He says that too. He's like, and just when you think I'm reading too far into this,
This one's
Here's
in
the proof.
film. It's spelled
Yeah.
out for you.
Well, we get to find out if the movie is good on the 30th of June.
Yes.
okay, not
So
too
it's very
far.
soon.
So it's got young Indy in it, and one thing it doesn't have in it is any jokes about him being old, because Harrison Ford was like, "That's not funny. No one cares."
Yeah.
Well, I think it didn't
Don't-
work.
don't draw
in
attention to
Crystal
it, you're
Skull
ruining it.
either.
What's that?
It didn't work in the Crystal Skull.
No, I think he knows that. That's what he was saying.
Don't
It's
get
like,
me
it's
wrong.
not funny.
That's
No one-
not why that movie sucked.
No.
No, but I
That's
think
not the
he's
reason
correct.
why,
It's
but-
like people don't want to be reminded that he's old if he's doing
Yeah.
this stuff. Just don't worry about it. He said there's one, "Oh, why am I still doing this?" joke, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
okay.
yeah, it doesn't need to be a
I
recurring
think it's in the
joke
trailer,
throughout.
actually.
I belong in a museum.
I've pissed my pants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the most iconic scene in Raiders was shot because he was shitting in his own pants.
That's true. There you go.
They all were.
It's like poetry. It rhymes.
Legal Eagle would have said that was murder.
Yes, he
There was
did.
actual
He
fight.
did. No.
Murdered
And
those
in
pants.
fact, he said a lot of people would try to argue. He said like Indy's lawyer would try to argue that was self-defense, but
Yes.
there's no actual threat. The guy had a sword, but he wasn't near him.
Yeah,
he
Indy
wasn't
didn't
coming
know why.
at
He
him.
was waving it around.
Yeah, and Indy had a fucking gun. So he was in no danger.
He was just a street
Yeah,
performer.
that's right. He was a juggler. I fucking love that movie.
So good.
Yes.
And I'll fight anyone who says Indiana Jones doesn't change the plot of that movie. He fucking does, and also it's not about that.
No. It's just it's a great fun family. Well, this is a family movie. When I grew up,
It was when I
family
grew
movie.
up. Man,
Yeah.
Now I probably wouldn't put it on for my kids.
I don't know if kids watch faces melting as often as we used to as kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do the kids these days hate the Nazis like we did? It was a lot closer to the war when we
Some
were
of
kids.
them are Nazis.
Yeah, it was
these
only
days, Dan.
30
If you
years
listen to
on.
the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when we were kids, our granddads were still like, don't trust the fucking Germans.
Yeah. Well, mine wasn't, obviously.
No. Don't trust the English, Matty.
Yeah. We've got some follow-up. In particular, Dan, you were asking about orcs fucking.
I was.
And Nate was like, I know
Of
all
course
about
you did.
orcs fucking.
Yeah.
And he's
please.
written in.
Thank you, Nate.
And then
Good on you, mate.
So I'm going to read this, right? So,
Yeah.
So they do
listeners, if
fuck?
you hadn't heard this before,
Verbatim.
Dan was questioning the fact that there are no female orcs, right,
Yeah.
in Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. All right, so this is as
Who
written
and
by-
what do they fuck?
Okay, I'm just going to read it because I can't paraphrase it.
Please do.
Back in the very early days, before the fall of the elven city of Gondolin, Morgoth had a habit of hunting and capturing any elves he found in the wilds. He tortured and he mutilated them. But the weird part,
And
none of them
probably
ever
raped.
gave up Gondolin.
Okay.
This even applied after they were broken. These elves were both male and female, and after centuries underground, they took on the name Orc. Recently, in Rings of Power, we see one of these orcs for the first time. Even in all Tolkien's writing, there was never an original orc as a character. Of course, these orcs fucked. Over the generations
Of course
underground,
they fucking
they
did.
started taking on...
What else are you going to do down there?
Over time, they started taking on the more orc-like appearance. But the originals were still around. They bred off into different
Because of
kinds
inbreeding.
orc, which includes goblins.
Yes.
There were female goblins
okay.
in the Hobbit movies. This went on for thousands of years. Then Morgoth was finally beaten and the orcs all vanished until they came back from underground following Sauron. Now, in the new show, the original orc that is still around is a direct threat to Sauron because he has genuine loyalty of the younger orcs. Okay, so I haven't watched The Ring of Power, so I don't know what that's about.
No.
But here's where it gets
But
confusing.
actually, I am keen to watch that.
Because Tolkien wrote
been told I
two
have
different versions of orc reproduction because he was a fucking sick bastard.
Because he was thorough. Yeah.
They
He was
both
like, I'm not
these
gonna sit here and write a language for everyone without
Yeah.
describing their genitals and where
His pub-
those genitals
he
go.
walked into his publisher's office and he said, "Look, I've written how the orcs reproduce again."
Yeah,
So it's just like,
yeah. He's like,
JR.
can we put these in the appendices again? No, mate. Main book.
They both reproduce like everybody else does,
Oh,
and can be
how do
molded
you know how
from the
we all
earth.
reproduce? Oh, yeah.
I've read
right.
J.R. Tolkien wrote a book about
So that's the chrysalis, I assume, that
yeah. Well,
Peter Jackson leaned into.
they can be molded from the earth. The latter is what we saw Saruman doing in the movies,
Yes.
but Gandalf in the book says
He makes
that
his own.
to do that, he bred orcs with goblins and men, implying just more fucking.
Okay, and just to be clear,
But Peter Jackson was like, I'm not putting
Tolkien's
that in the
world
movie.
Means mankind. It doesn't mean literally just
Yeah, yeah.
men. Either,
No,
by
man,
the way,
it's men.
before people are writing in going, "Oh, gay."
Nate
No.
says men. But he said that was a bit much for Peter Jackson, so he went with the pod thing. Sort of
Yeah,
like the way
yeah.
no one is going to put the teenager gangbang from the end of Stephen King's It onto
Oh, I
the
know.
screen.
I know. They implied it might have happened, but yeah.
Yeah. But what does it mean, goblins and men, and how do they breed? Well,
Oh, he goes on. Yes, please.
they might be mutated, but the DNA of the goblin is still elf, and they are always having half-human kids. Even Elrond is half-elf. So I think the bigger change is the young orcs are not immortal anymore. They're too corrupt, and the light of the Noldor left them long ago. I don't know what that means. Anyway,
I've
to
never
sum
read
up...
Lord of the Rings.
No.
So
I have not in a long time. To sum up, no one wants to imply that orcs fuck, so they don't show female orcs.
Oh, almost
But
no
they
one,
fuck.
mate. Or you do.
but
You
they
want to
exist.
imply it very strongly. So go on.
Anyway, that's it, yeah.
Magnificent.
He,
Thank
he,
you
oh,
so
he
much.
says, I may be a little too invested in Lord of the Rings.
No.
You invested just the perfect amount. and we
Just the right
appreciate it.
amount.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's magnificent. I knew there'd be an answer because Tolkien doesn't leave any stone unturned, and I knew that somebody.
Not when
would
it's
have-
about fucking.
Yeah, that's right. I'm currently reading. Well, I've lost my page, but I'm currently reading Lord Foulsbane, the first of the Thomas Covenant the Unbeliever Chronicles by Stephen Donaldson, which is about a man from our time who gets sucked into a
Face.
high fantasy realm, and the first thing he does is rape a fairy, as you do.
Wait.
So
well, you were
Jesus.
reading something else. I thought you were going to be bringing that up because that's something I could probably discuss.
He's not going to mention Mein Kampf on the podcast.
I have considered reading Mein Kampf from time to time, but I've never.
Nah.
You opening.
What am I?
500
I'm
and
I
done.
read several books at once. Luke, which one were you referring to?
Well, you've got on here that you read some Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh yes, I did read some Arthur C. Clarke. In fact, I'm still going. I'm reading the 2001: A Space Odyssey book, which I assume you've
Okay.
read. And I will go out and I will say definitively, this is better than the movie. This is a
Because
better.
stuff happens.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, and the same stuff is implied, but it's described very well and in context. This is excellent. I appreciate 2001: A Space Odyssey as a piece of cinema history, but I don't actually enjoy watching it as a movie.
Oh, really?
Whereas
I do. I don't know what's wrong with me. I like it.
This is very good. I like it, but just not. I don't enjoy it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like fucking an orc.
Look,
Yeah,
I think
that's
if
right,
you
I'll
keep
do
reading
it.
that series-
I like it,
I-
but I don't enjoy it.
Because I quite liked 3001.
Sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I plan to keep going. This is good. I mean, it deviates from the film in many ways too, in ways that make much more sense of the stuff that happens in the film.
Well, especially because towards the end, because they were writing the book and filming at the same time, towards the end, Stanley Kubrick just stopped returning phone calls.
Yeah, he
After
wouldn't.
go,
He wouldn't share
What are we
notes
doing?
anymore.
How are we finishing
Yeah,
this? And he
yeah.
no, I'm just. This is what I'm doing now, and just sort of just
Yeah,
forgot
yeah.
after the.
But I
roll.
love, because obviously Stanley Kubrick's been very, very secretive about that ending. And anytime anyone's asked, he's like, if you have to ask, you've missed the point. The point is not knowing what that ending is about. Like, the mystery is the point. Whereas
David Lynch, like a David
there's
Lynch
a
film.
recording of a radio interview with Kubrick on Japanese radio where the guy, Japanese interviewer, just doesn't understand what the mystery is the point means. And so Kubrick finally goes, fine, if this is just for Japan, I'll just fucking tell you what happens. And literally just spells out the end of it.
Yeah, right. Haha, the internet.
Look,
Yeah,
Arthur
thank
Clarke
you,
is
the
one of my
internet.
favorite sort of hardcore science fiction authors, because a lot of the stuff he writes about, he also ties back to actual science as well.
Yeah,
Mate,
I like that.
He is a fucking prophet. What year was this book written in? 60s, 70s? 60s, right? So, they're reading newspapers on what's essentially tablets, iPads, right? And he says the quicker it was to for people to read the news was directly proportional with the amount of triviality that the news became. So
Right.
it's so true. There's also one bit, and this isn't even a plot point. They're just speculating shit that might happen. And he says China might engineer a virus and spread it worldwide, not to kill everyone, but just to essentially blackmail the world by charging everyone for the vaccine for it. And I was like, holy shit. Not that I think
what
that's
actually
what
happened.
COVID
No, it's
was.
just a-
But
Yeah.
but no, that's a crazy thing. That is something that could actually
Yeah.
happen in this day.
Two other authors I feel like are like that are Ray Bradbury,
Yes.
who you can go back and read, and it's like, how did he know that? Like, how is he so not exactly correct, but thematically spot
But
on?
certainly on track.
And Isaac Asimov as well.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
fucking genius. Like, what a mind. I bought some books. You reminded me. I had, not on the podcast, I don't think, I had a rant to you about the Xenomorph thing.
Yes. Yeah.
They're not called Xenomorphs, listeners.
They're called aliens.
They're just
They
fucking
are
aliens.
referred to as xenomorphs at least once or twice. I'll stop you there, Matt.
They're referred to. Burke calls them xenomorphs. He's just a fancy douchebag way of saying alien. No one else in that movie uses that word. That's the one time it's used. No, but people.
Not in that movie. Ripley calls them xenomorphs in the third one. I think you'll find.
Are you sure? I don't think that's true.
Oh, hold on.
Well, I'll find out because
I
while
know
I was
the books,
while I
the
was
books they
looking
are.
at that, I did some searching on that because I was trying to figure out like how and I discovered one thing that annoys me is that Ridley Scott in the credits for Alien Covenant refers to it as Xenomorph, and I was like, well, I'm fucking doomed now. If Ridley Scott's calling it that, I'm fucked. So
Yeah, you can't argue. Yeah, but you can, because George Lucas
not in the
says
film.
it's pronounced at, and he's
Yeah, that's
wrong
true.
about that.
he's incorrect.
Very wrong.
So, but anyway, so while I was just looking at stuff like that, I saw something that said, you know, when Bishop crawls through the pipe, right? In Aliens, Bishop crawls through the pipe to use the communications array to bring down the dropship. Yeah. And then they're talking about how it's going to be really dangerous. They have to cut a hole, and he goes through the pipe, and they give him a gun, and he says, "Don't worry, I'm not stupid. I'll only use this if I have to." But you know, and then we're led to believe that he never encountered any aliens at all because suddenly he's just there using the thing. But apparently, there was a scene where he encounters an alien. It's not in the film. was never actually shot, but it's in this book.
Hey. Oh, is that Alan Dean Foster by the... It's somebody.
This is also Alan Dean Foster.
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
And this is also Alan Dean
Hey!
Foster.
Oh.
So I've got Alien, Aliens, and Alien 3 by Alan Dean Foster.
Go on eBay.
And I'm going to find out if anyone says Xenomorph in there.
Nobody writes tie-in film fiction like Alan Dean Foster. Man.
I'd love to meet him one day. Is he still alive?
Yeah, he is. I think he is.
Yeah.
I think he did a Star Wars book at least a couple of years ago.
You're right. He did the novelization of The Force Awakens, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that was probably 10 years ago now, but still.
Yeah, good point.
It certainly caused a lot of confusion because, I mean, he never came in and went, I'm the Xenomorph.
No, my name's John Xenomorph.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, fuck, another Xenomorph. And you could be right.
I think I have residual trauma from having an argument with somebody about it as a kid. And so it literally makes my eye twitch when someone calls them xenomorphs because I'm like, they're not called xenomorphs.
Yeah.
I was just having a look to try and find if I could find something where Ripley says it. And on screenrant.com, they just go through. They don't say where she says it, but there's just a whole thing like Burke was trying to bring the xenomorphs home. Like they say xenomorph throughout the article.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't say Ewok in Return of the Jedi either, so anyone who actually thinks they're called Ewoks,
all the Alien vs Predator movies, I think, and certainly all the books in the comics, took it as that's what it means to. Although I think there's somewhere they refer to as xenomorph and then a number, which implies that there are others, which means it does just mean alien. But then it doesn't matter. I just don't know why it makes me so mad. It's one of those things that gets under my skin for some reason.
You're like one of those guys that when people go Frankenstein, you go, oh, the human in that book Frankenstein.
So that doesn't,
Dr. Frankenstein.
I know that, and I'm like, I'll say it for funsies, but it doesn't actually annoy me when someone... Because the reason it came up, listeners, is because I was at trivia, and one of the questions was... It was about name the alien species, and one of them was that, and I was like, ugh. I said to everyone at the table, the answer's going to be xenomorph.
Right xenomorph, but it's wrong.
I said, right xenomorph, but then right in brackets next to it, they're not called xenomorphs.
Yeah, fuck.
And then, and everyone was like, "What are you talking about?" And Jen was like, "Don't ask him."
Yeah, just don't let him rant.
Yeah.
Ask Lance Henriksen next time you see him.
Well, I think in some of the books and stuff, it's xenomorph, and then there's a number designation because of depending on where the egg hatches. Because remember, when the egg hatches, it depends on which species that they connect with, changes the way that the alien actually.
But there's also a part of that life cycle that doesn't make any sense because what is the face hugger? Is it a xenomorph? It comes out of the egg, then it gives birth to the xenomorph.
Okay, so in from the books, every xenomorph will carry one egg with them, and so if there's no queen around, they will lay an egg, and that if that facehugger goes, that will create the queen, and the queen.
But is that facehugger their child? Like, is that my son?
No.
Oh, hold on. You're saying they're carrying
Am I legally
eggs?
responsible for that?
Eggs. Right. Every xenomorph will carry one egg.
When you say carry an egg, you don't mean carry to term.
They'll
you mean
carry,
like
but they've got one
bring
inside.
An egg from
in
the
backpack.
queen. Yeah, no, that's what I mean.
Them.
Who laid the eggs? Does the queen lay every
original egg? Don't know. That species is probably long gone because you've got to remember every time that species that xenomorph has that alien.
It's fine.
Has to lay that one egg. They're technically becoming sort of a new offshoot.
Correct, which is why there's a fucking
whatever
dog
that
in
egg
number
goes
3.
off to goes off and creates a dog.
Well, that's another thing, right? That's just something
different subspecies.
They never said that explicitly in Alien 3, but like that has become
they
literally
heavily
the truth.
implied it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
but
right.
no, they're just not sure. She goes, "This one's a bit different." Like,
this one's a bit doggy,
moves differently.
Yeah, but no, yeah.
You know
anyway, so the other thing is this one, Alien.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens at the end of this because based just on what you were saying, in Alien, right? If you go on the DVDs, there's a scene cut from the film for pacing reasons where Ripley encounters Dallas, I think, in the bowels of the ship, and he's stuck to the wall, right? And they're dissolving him to make the egg.
Oh, that's what they do that for.
Well, not anymore.
Right.
Because James Cameron changed it.
Yeah, sure. But James Cameron changed a lot.
Yeah, but originally that was what... And if they just hadn't cut that scene out, the sequels would be completely different because there'd be no queen.
Yeah, yeah.
The acid is to melt the person and use the biological
Into
material
egg.
into the egg.
Into a new
Yeah.
egg.
Wow, that's fucking cool.
You can watch that scene on the DVD.
I want to. Oh, they
Blu-ray.
filmed that.
Yeah. They literally cut it
okay.
at the last minute
Yeah,
for,
right.
for time.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
I will.
I'm pretty sure it's Dallas she talks to.
The Alien 3 video game that they came out with for both the Super Nintendo and the
Side
Mega
scroller?
Drive, which are completely different studios, made both of them, but both very, very good games. Possibly better than the movie, at least better than the cinema cut.
So I like Alien 3. I have a soft spot for it. I don't know why.
Yeah,
I just
so
do.
do I. No, it's good. It's
And the is it the assembly cut, right? Is that what they call that version? David Fincher's first. Wait, I don't think he even did that. I think he left well before that. In fact, I don't think he was still there when Lance Henriksen was there. I can't remember. But anyway,
It does
Can I
seem a
just
bit
ask one
tacked
thing
on.
quickly? Can everyone just check their recordings quickly?
sure.
Because I forgot
Yeah.
to hit the backup one.
I'm
Oh
recording.
yeah, I'm checking out.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I've just hit the recording on here. I just forgot to hit the backup, that's all.
No worries. Yeah. And welcome to the
Haters will
show,
lost this.
episode 500. Here we go again.
Play
Take two.
the intro. The assembly cut, I think it's called the assembly cut, is much longer and has a lot more interesting religious stuff that they cut out because it was all very
Yes, monkey.
slow.
Yeah.
And I like it, but
Yeah.
Jenna had never seen that movie at all, and we watched that version and she fucking hated it.
Yeah.
Because it gets
Things do
very
happen more than
slow
once.
in the middle.
Like, I love.
Yeah,
the
they capture it and it
sequence-
gets out, and then they capture it again and it gets out.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's what's boring about it is you're like,
Yeah.
hold on, we did this.
Yeah.
But that scene where they've got the motion sensor machine guns is fucking excellent. When it's in the tunnel and they just
Yeah.
hear those guns firing so they know it's coming towards them. Like, that wasn't in the theatrical cut, and it is it is a great scene.
That is, yeah. That makes that movie a million times better, just that
Yeah.
scene there.
Yeah.
Do you mean Aliens or Alien 3?
No, Alien 3.
Alien.
I don't have machine guns in Alien 3. I think you're talking
No,
about
no.
Aliens.
There's, no,
Yeah,
no.
you're talking about
Aliens
aliens.
3, the turrets and the fucking things in the... Right?
They don't have any guns in Alien
Aliens.
3.
Am I thinking of Aliens, am I?
It's all the...
Think of
Yeah.
Aliens.
Yeah. Alien 3 is the monks. All they have is like an axe. And so
Yeah.
they have to lure it using them as bait into the ironworks so they can dump
Hold
the
on,
oil.
hold
Because it's
on,
the
hold on.
only way they can think of
Alien
to kill it because they don't have any
3.
weapons.
Guns. Yeah, you are correct. Hold on.
I mean, maybe maybe they did delete something. Well, they definitely did because there's a whole scene where there's a whole sequence in the assembly cut of Alien 3 where one of they're all prisoners, but they've become religious because they're on this prison planet. They're almost like monks. And
the first draft, that was just a monk planet, and they built
That's
the
right.
sets, and then they fired the director, and then they changed
yeah,
it.
it's a fucking mess.
They're now prisoners.
So they, one of them gets a bit nutso and scared and decides he's going to worship it, and he lets it out of the cage, the prison area they've got it in. I think that's cut from the final one. My favorite scene in that whole movie is when they're all in the kitchen and they're making fun of Ripley. They're like, "There's no fucking alien," and it comes out of the roof and grabs that guy, and they all panic, and there's like blood flowing from the ceiling, and then it goes all quiet, and that guy's standing there with a chair, and he goes, "Fuck," and it just cuts. So good. Yeah.
I'm looking for this fucking scene.
I mean, there's definitely a turret sequence in Aliens.
Yes.
So I thought that's what you were talking about. It
yeah,
might not
that's
be.
what I thought you were talking about as well.
Probably is. Maybe I just need to sit down and
Like
watch all
the
of them
turret
again.
sequence. Now, can we before we sort of finish up and move on, can we talk about just some more follow-up news that I just want to get out there
Sure.
about Billy Mitchell?
Billy
Yes.
Mitchell.
Because we've been talking about Billy Mitchell for probably 10 years at least.
Like, yeah, we've been talking about him since. Remember when we were first talking about this? When after seeing The King of Kong,
The first time,
and sort
yeah.
of talking about how that was sort of making him out to be a villain, which he sort of really.
And we were like,
wasn't
oh, maybe it's
a villain.
biased. Maybe he's not so bad. And then someone on Something Awful said, no, he came to town and burned down a arcade because he got mad at them. And I was like, is that true?
Yeah.
There's a lot of
I love
stories
those-
about him.
When
suing
you-
everyone under the sun.
Yeah. When you Google Billy Mitchell, though, it comes up Billy Mitchell restaurateur.
Yes.
Because he owns that. Is it a ribs joint that he owns?
Yeah, yeah.
He owns a few businesses, I think.
He's got his hot sauce and all that, but he does,
Yeah.
it's a restaurant chain.
But it's sort of weird because he's actually suing an Australian YouTuber.
Is he?
For calling
him
he's
a cheat.
Carl, I forget his name, Carl someone. But one of the things, like, because he came out and went like he's a cheater.
Yeah.
Well, it's like so many people have, but for some reason he's focused on this Australian YouTuber.
I mean, he's been stripped of his title, so I don't know why this one guy's saying that he's a cheater is.
Well,
is,
he's also suing Twin Galaxies as well.
Sure.
Because
They're the ones
he's been
who stripped him of the title.
the
the
problem
thing
is
about-
that he got caught cheating, and then they were like, "Well, he was probably cheating the other times," and he's like, "Prove it, or I'll sue you."
And
And, it's like,
yeah, but then the internet
okay.
went, all right.
And they finally have proved because the ones where he's filmed, the ones where he said he's filmed it, well, I've got witnesses who saw me. The witnesses are his friends.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very
Their partner.
shady.
Well,
Very
here's
shady.
But
and
they
that's
finally-
that's where it comes in, today's news, because somebody's come up with a photo of the alleged machine with him standing in front of it that he claims was the machine that he beat the record
and if
on.
he got it on that machine, which is still possible, he's still possible that he got that score. But the machine, the whole thing that this comes down to, he says he got it on an original machine.
Yes.
The machine that they got the photo of isn't an original, so he still may have got the score. But
Yeah.
it's
It's
not.
not the machine
But-
said it
original
was.
hardware.
But he's still lying, no matter what.
Yes.
Yeah.
It could even be a
Yeah.
case of he's not lying; he just really misremembers.
I mean, that's very possible.
I'm being devil's advocate here.
Yeah. I think you'd
but you'd
remember
think
that.
someone
Yeah.
like
No, but here's the
the
thing.
joystick on it is very different.
When he was first hailed as the winner, when Walter Day, is it Walter Day, from Twin Galaxies was said, oh, hold on, because was it Weeby? John Weeby? Steve Weeby?
John Weeby.
Steve Weeby, yeah.
Steve Weeby.
Stop playing Donkey Kong and wipe my butt.
Yeah, when he, from what I can tell, a lovely man and a great dad.
Yes.
When he broke the record, and then Billy Mitchell just waltzed in with a VHS tape going, not so fast, here's me beating it on another
infuriating.
day. Yeah. But even since the day after that, when people have been going through frame by frame going, oh, there's a little glitch here between the
'cause
frame
tape just
before
sort
it.
of rolls over.
Yeah, like it was always a
always been
bit
questions.
sus. And the fact that, Billy Mitchell looks like one of the most untrustworthy people you could ever encounter.
And he's been
And
proved. They've proved that he cheated at other games.
And it's sort of like, if you look at the thing is, it's not like he's a bad player. Like, it's not like he's
No.
terrible at games or anything. Like, wasn't he one of the first people to complete Pac-Man?
I mean,
get the perfect score.
Yes, he
He's an
certainly
excellent player.
Has achieved things.
Yes, no
Yes.
one's not saying that he's not. No
Just
one's
maybe not the
saying that.
things that he's claiming he's achieved.
Yes.
All of them.
So, yeah, it's quite interesting to see where his lawsuits are going to go after this, because his whole thing goes off, it was an original hardware, and then here's a photo of the event that you were at, which shows not original hardware.
Yeah, the second generation machine.
It's not
And why
good
would you take a
look.
photo in front of the machine that wasn't the machine?
Well, he
playing
probably didn't realize he was going to have to lie about it later. You know?
Yeah, correct, Matt. Yeah.
Yeah.
He hadn't
the whole
worked
thing
out
about-
the lie yet at that
Because
point.
the whole thing about the joystick that they're showing is, if it was on original hardware, the original joystick controller for Donkey Kong was 4-way, so up, down, left, right. With the controller that's on the machine that he used, it's 8-way. So you can go
8-way,
sort
like
of
an orc.
diagonal. You can go diagonal, which could give you an advantage.
Hold on, can you go diagonal in Donkey Kong? I guess
When
you
you've got
can.
the controller to sort of... Because when you're playing on the 4-way, you basically stop
Oh,
moving
it just
right, left to
activates,
go up.
activates
Yes.
sideways and jump at the
Whereas
same
this
time.
way you can go up and right at the same time, so it gives you...
You're not supposed to be able to do that in the original, is that what you mean?
No, because
Yeah,
it's
right.
just the one direction.
There you
So
go.
I love it. I don't think there's been a response to it yet, and I'm dying to see what the response
Oh
is
yeah,
going to
I'm
be.
glad we can talk about him again. I'm glad he's back in the news.
Yeah,
Yeah.
before he disappears forever.
Is that a threat? Oh, it wouldn't be a 500th episode if Luke didn't threaten somebody, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, in this anniversary episode, he's told Kristen Stewart to go across the hall. He's
Yeah.
threatened a prominent figure.
Well, so what's he going to do in the after
He
party?
hasn't called us out for not being woke enough, but
Oh, he will. He will.
But if you're a patron or you'd like to become one, then you can join us in the after party where Matt is going to explain to us why he stands with J.K. Rowling after all the controversy.
Oh,
I'm not saying I agree or disagree. I can tell already which side Luke's going to come down on.
listeners,
so I'm going to be the
please go to
tiebreaker.
I'm just saying,
patreon.com/multiplenerdgasm so you
I
can hear
like
the truth.
I like Hogwarts Legacy, the game.
Oh, great. Now we're
Right.
fucked.
Well, yeah,
can't
you
say
can,
that.
You can fight Anthony Rapp about that.
You can't say that. Go to multiplenerdgasm.com, do it. But then go to patreon.com/multiplenerdgasm. Before we go, I do have one more thing I want to show you guys.
Oh,
this
please.
is just a thing. This is something I noticed today, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna play a clip right now. You're gonna know what this is, right? You're about to hear this, listeners, anyway. Again.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
You know what that is, obviously. This is the original from the first episode.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show.
What the fuck happened there? And when did that
Wait,
happen?
You didn't
listeners?
replace that? You didn't sit there one day going, that should be lower in pitch and then play with it and swap it out?
I have no idea when that happened.
What?
Maybe it's degraded over time. I have no idea. I know that's not a real thing. Listeners, don't write in.
Wow. And the funny thing is that it's running out of batteries, Matt.
Because it's not on the blockchain.
Yeah. That's the machine learning version of it. When we used to do fake endings to this podcast, we would also say thank you for listening, which is actually not how that starts.
That's all for this week. Yeah. No, because I skipped to the end just to see what we said at the end. It wasn't very interesting. The ending of the first episode, by the way. We just trailed off and then played that.
Which, if you don't have a copy of the first episode, you won't find
No.
it.
In fact, I think the reason I made that was because the ending of the podcast was just us talking, and then we just stopped talking.
We just stopped.
I was like, "There's no ending."
Podcast over. Yeah.
Yeah. But then that came on, and I was like, "That sounds different." And yeah. Anyway, that's all for this week.
Thank you for listening for the last 500 shows.
That's all for this week. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you enjoyed it, then please subscribe in iTunes to receive episodes automatically. We'll see you next time.